And Brandy, as we await the removal of that camp, what's the latest on the suspects there?
Yeah, this has been, I would say, the most common question we're being asked because there's sort of this political climate where we know that bail isn't being set very high in a lot of cases for folks accused of dangerous crimes. And so I think there was a belief that these individuals who had been arrested would just be back out on the street, potentially doing it again. But I will tell you, the bail that prosecutors have been seeking for these suspects is very, very high. Let's take a look at the latest suspect arrested. We are not going to name him. He has not been formally charged yet, but here's what we know about him. He's 41 years old. He is, in fact, homeless. His bail set $500,000 because the potential charges in this case are very serious. He faces up to 4 counts of second-degree assault with a deadly weapon, accused of throwing multiple items at multiple vehicles earlier this week. He's also been in and out of the system. He's had 18 warrants since 2012, and for all of those reasons, prosecutors convinced a judge to set that bail very high.
It's worth noting that 16 witnesses called in the rocks being thrown and had substantial concerns for community safety based on that.
Yeah, so charges, and these are the images of the cars he's accused of smashing in earlier this week. Prosecutors will have until Friday to charge that 41-year-old man. Remember, you can't hold someone indefinitely, so if they don't meet that charging deadline, he will be released until they can put a case together. As far as the other suspects, we know there are 2 others who have already been charged. I checked this morning. They remain held in the King County jail. There's another one who was charged with a misdemeanor, and then remember there was that case where they made an arrest, and then it turned out it was a case of kind of mistaken identity, so they had to let the person go. But in terms of the individuals facing felony charges, $500,000 bail, I'll tell you what, I've seen murder suspects who have $500,000 bail, so they're obviously taking this very, very seriously.
Yeah, and when we talk a little bit, we saw John out there live, and he mentioned the boulders. So talk a little bit more about the boulder situation. What is WashDOT doing from here out?
Yeah, Bill asked last hour, because we've been hearing from WashDOT about what they're going to do to stop people from coming back to camp in this area. They're going to secure it, they're going to put up tents, and then last hour, I told you they were going to put boulders in place where people had been camping, and you asked a question I would have never thought to ask, which is, are the boulders big enough so that people don't move them? So I have heard from WashDOT and learned more about landscaping than I cared to learn. Yeah. Apparently the boulders that they're putting down, we can go back out to the live picture of this encampment. The boulders they're putting in place are called 4-man boulders. So they weigh, and I take that literally to mean it would take 4 average men to move the boulder. Okay. But this is apparently a term. You can have 1-man boulders, 2-man boulders, 3-man boulders. Ones they're putting in place, I'm told, will weigh up to 500 pounds. So they'll be very, very difficult to move. And you see that area right there with the concrete kind of raised platform. There were tents on top of there. So that, for instance, is where they would be putting these boulders so that people don't set up tents again in that area. But I just want to say before we pull away from the shot, what we're seeing is very unusual. During the pandemic and in the political climate, sweeping encampments has become more rare, especially during the pandemic where they didn't want folks moving from place to place. So that tells you, you have WashDOT and the City of Seattle working in tandem, it tells you that they understood the seriousness of the situation. There's certainly going to be some criticism and questions about why it took them this long, given how long and how many incidents we've reported on of people being pelted with things. And time will tell whether this is going to be effective and whether commuters will be safer driving on that stretch of I-90. I think it'll take a few days to really understand that.
Let's hope so.